Technology has made life very different and in many ways easier. I use the heck out of my smartphone. I use AI. I run a YouTube channel. I invest online. But lately, I've been noticing something. The more technologically convenient that life becomes, the more dependent we become on that convenience. GPS remembers so we don't have to. Google thinks for us before we think for ourselves. Streaming entertains us before boredom ever has a chance to show up. The cloud, well, it stores our memories. AI answers our questions. And it's only becoming more and more integrated with each passing year. But I think Gen X accidentally ended up with an advantage that no other generation has. We were still young when the digital revolution started taking place, young enough to fully hitch onto it. But we were raised analog. We learned multiple ways to communicate, multiple ways on which to navigate, multiple ways in which to shop. We learned how to bank in multiple ways. We didn't just adapt to the digital revolution. We had to rewire our brains for it. And just think about that for a minute. We spent the first decade of our lives developing one set of mental skills. Then the world completely started changing, and we had to build an entirely new set. I don't know of another generation that's had to make that kind of transition on such a massive scale. And I think that's left Gen X with something incredibly valuable, an escape hatch. And not because we're smarter than anyone else, but because we still remember another way to live. Technology should make us more capable, not less capable without it. And I think that's the real test. Every advance should expand what we're able to do, not quietly replace the skills that got us here. Because once a skill disappears, so does a little bit of our independence. And that's exactly why Gen X's experience still matters. My first point is we learned how to think before we could search. Early in our lives, there wasn't an instant answer. If you wanted to know something, you asked someone. You went to the library. You problem solved. You figured it out. Today, we instinctively look for the search bar before we've even thought about the problem ourselves. Technology made information easier to find, but Gen X learned something first, how to think through a problem. That's a skill that no search engine can replace. AI can answer questions, but AI can't tell you whether it's right. The ability to think critically may become more valuable, not less. And many of us, we may feel rusty when it comes to these earlier skills, but we've got the history and the muscle memory, and that never leaves. My second point is we learned communication before screens took over. We learned how to actually talk to people, not text, not email. We had difficult conversations, and silly ones, and business ones, even boring ones. We could hear someone's tone of voice, no emojis needed. We learned to read body language. We learned how to disagree without hiding behind a keyboard. Technology, well, it made communication faster, but it didn't necessarily make us better communicators. And that's still one of Gen X's greatest strengths. And even though we've embraced modern technology ourselves, and we've proven that we can adapt, the people that know how to confidently communicate with another human being, well, they will have an advantage. A few years ago, my mom was in the hospital. I needed answers about her discharge and a transfer to a rehab facility. And everyone I tried to call, they just wanted to send me to voicemail where nobody answered. Everyone wanted to read a computer screen instead of talking to me while looking at me. And it's definitely the world that we're living in today. But we cannot abandon person-to-person communication. Not in every setting. Because technology, it can deliver information, but only people can deliver understanding. And some conversations are just simply too important to hand over to a screen. Okay, my third point is we learned delayed gratification before everything became instant. We waited for everything. Paychecks, photos, TV shows, packages. If you wanted something, you usually had to wait for it. And without realizing it, that waiting, it taught us something. Delayed gratification. Today, almost everything is instant. And while I enjoy that convenience as much as anybody, there is a downside. The more we get used to getting what we want immediately, the harder it becomes to wait for the things that matter the most. Like building wealth, that takes years. A good marriage takes years. Recovering from setbacks, sometimes that takes years. Retirement isn't built in a weekend. It's built over decades. One of Gen X's hidden advantages is that we practiced patience long before anyone called it a life skill. We've waited before. We know how. And I think that's one reason why our generation has always been willing to play the long game. My fourth point is we learned self-reliance before convenience. Technology is great. Convenience is wonderful. But self-reliance is still one of the most valuable skills that you can possess. And especially in retirement, because the less you depend on outside systems, the more freedom that you have. And I think that's the escape hatch. It's not a paper map, it's not a checkbook, it's not refusing to use technology. It's knowing that if modern life becomes too expensive or more complicated or more dependent on technology, you still have another way. We have former ways that we can adapt to again. And that is what self-reliance gives you. And my fifth point is that the escape hatch was never analog, because this isn't really a story about paper maps or cassette tapes or rotary phones. Those, well, they were never the escape hatch. The escape hatch is what those things taught us. Critical thinking, communication, patience, self-reliance, adaptability. Those are the exact skills that we, Gen X, carried into the digital age. And those are the skills that will help us navigate whatever comes next. Now, can those skills still be learned or taught today? I wish I could confidently say yes, but I'm really not sure. It would be very difficult, I believe. I mean, what do you think? How can younger generations learn those skills today? Communication, patience, self-reliance. Are they lost forever? I'd love to hear your take on it. Gen X does come equipped with an escape hatch from the modern world. And there's no time machine needed. The escape hatch is what those years taught us. They taught us how to think before we searched. They taught us how to communicate before we texted. They taught us patience before everything became instant. And they taught us how to rely on ourselves before convenience became a way of life. Technology has changed everything, and we've changed with it. In fact, we helped build it, but we never completely lost those original abilities. And I think that's going to matter more in the future, not less. Technology should expand our abilities, not diminish them, not replace them. It should make us more capable, not less capable without it. Use every tool that modern life gives you. I know I do. But don't quietly let convenience replace competence. Because if the world keeps changing the way it has, your greatest advantage won't be the newest technology. It will be knowing that you can still function without depending on it. And that is the Gen X escape hatch. So I hope you all have a great week ahead. I'll see you in the next video. Later, Gators.